He does have a lot of skills and passes to choose from. Let's take a closer look at some of those passes right now. His most common mount has been a double layout full out or a double layout with a full twist. His execution is beautiful in the air, and he does this skill very easily. I believe he can easily add 1 or even 2 more twists to the skill, doing a double-double or even a triple-double eventually. Even on takeoff, his form is very tight and clean. He spots the floor after his first flip and starts his full twist. It may be hard to see here, but he sees the floor, and he is 3/4 into his twist. With a half flip left, he's completed his full twist and stylishly opens his arms out to the side to prepare for landing. Now he's thinking stick the landing at this point. This is a side-by-side comparison with Olympic champion Alexei Nemov. Alexei is considered one of the cleanest tumblers of his time. Both have clean takeoffs. They both actually spot the ground here. Carlos has completed more twist at this point, and he stylishly places his hands by his side. And he completes his twist and he's squared off for the landing very early, and that gives him more time to focus on sticking. And even when Carlos doesn't stick, it's normally just a small hop anyway. I would say Carlos sticks this skill more than half the time. Here's a look at some of his front tumbling. A double twisting layout front to a layout front. Here's a high powerful hurdle, really clean and tight form in the air. He spots the floor right here in preparation for his punch into his layout front. And his layout front just soars with his arms to the side in elegance. Very nice. This is a back layout with 1.5 twists into a double twisting layout front flip. I don't see him use this as often as he's upgraded his routine. Here's his back 2.5 twisting layout punch straight into his 2.5 twisting layout front flip. Wow, look how clean he is in the air. The challenge with these combinations is to get the proper timing and bounce after the 2.5 twisting back to punch directly into the 2.5 twisting front. Here's a side-by-side comparison with Kenzo Shirai, who's regarded as one of the best twisters in gymnastics. Carlos starts his twist slightly earlier. They finish their twist almost identical. I would say Kenzo has completed slightly more of his twist at this point, but they both spot the ground and set up for their punch into their next skill. They both connect with the floor well, but they also have their feet slightly crossed for a slight form deduction, and they land very similar. Here's his piked double front branny out, or piked double front with a half turn. He does this skill so easily and with such great form. Just really nice to watch. Now he adds his double pike front in an upgraded combination. Look at the distance he travels here. It's like a pole vaulter traveling across the floor at a very high rate and sticking his feet into the floor and launching upward. Carlos is very well known for his focus on controlling his landings. His legs are tight together and he pulls his arms into his body to accelerate his twist. Here he spots the floor in preparation to punch the floor before his double pike. So cool. Beautifully done. All through this skill, his legs and feet are glued together and he has such great timing and control. He does make this look easy. Even on this landing, he tries to move his feet as little as possible. This is a layout front full into a 2.5 twisting layout front. In multiple twisting front tumbling, it's very common to go off axis like this due to the way the gymnasts torque their arms to accelerate their twist. This is a side-by-side of Kenzo and Carlos. Carlos does a layout full where Kenzo does a tucked full. This full twisting front simply sets up and accelerates the twist in multiple twisting frontward skills. There's a lot of technique going on here. Their left arm is held out away from the body so they can wrap it in close to their body and accelerate their twisting. Neither one of these gymnasts go that high, but they spin incredibly fast. Here's a triple full for a side pass or a backflip with a triple twist. I would say he sticks this more than half the time. He does this from a round-off and not a round-off back handspring. The current generation is much more accepting of doing skills out of round-offs. Really clean form here. Here's a long reach on his round-off, deep block angle. It's easy to over-rotate your flip in twisting skills, so a deeper block angle helps to stall the flip in twisting skills so you don't over-rotate. He opens up easily out of this triple full. This makes it no surprise that he sometimes does a 3.5 twisting backflip for a dismount. This bumps up the value from a D to an E. Even this is pretty comfortable for him, as he also does a 3.5 twisting backflip immediately punched to a branny or a front flip with a half twist. This is an upgraded combination. And so cool, he has such good form on this with his legs glued together throughout this whole sequence. Carlos has many skills and combinations to choose from when he constructs his floor routine. I look forward to seeing what he puts together for the Olympics. He is definitely a medal contender on the floor and really does some of the cleanest and most elegant tumbling in the world. Let's get started with Reese's mount. He does a back scissor to handstand with great technique. I showed different versions to show how consistent he is with the skill. Good technique is to show swing to the handstand and not a press, and you want your hips to be very open and not piked. Reese swings very smoothly up to his handstand. In this comparison of Reese and Max, Reese has his hips much higher when he gets his second hand back on that pommel. Max moves a bit slower to the handstand but very controlled. He does open up his hips well not to appear to use strength. They both swing very well in real time. This is the best one I've seen Reese do. He has open hips and a straight body and he swings quickly straight up to the handstand. Here he moves on to multiple Russians on one pommel. I use this video of Reese because although he covers it up very well, he is struggling and adjusting much more than he normally does. Even so, he maintains decent form with only a small foot separation. He's a fighter. We can see in this version, both are smooth, flawless, and just flow so great. Reese's nice toe point stands out to me and gives much more elegance to every skill he does in his routine. Look how tight and controlled he is with very nice extension and distance from the horse. It looks like he could stay on that pommel all day long. When we compare Max Whitlock with Reese, we can see that he uses much more of a planche position, where Reese leads more with his shoulders as he circles around. Both keep their chest down very well, have good distance from the horse, and maintain good push and balance throughout. Nice work. Now they both do the same Russian sequence, but this time between the pommels on the leather. There's more space to adjust your hands on the leather, but both have to swing much higher to clear their body over the pommels. Reese's fast swing helps create momentum to clear the horse and have nice extension, but a fast swing can get out of control a bit easier. Max has a slower, less momentum driven and tighter swing, but he controls his swing remarkably well. I did an analysis and comparison of Max Whitlock and Chow Quinn already, and I'll leave that link in the description for that video. You may find that very insightful to the style and technique of Max Whitlock. Reese has a really stretched front circle, and he also has a lot of room between his hips and the pommel. Just like Max Whitlock, he's very clean and consistent with his one pommel work. If you look closely here, you can see his hand is up a bit more in the right image, as this is one way gymnasts micro adjust to stay in such good balance during their swing. Because gymnasts swing so fast, it's difficult to see the small adjustments they are doing in real time to maintain solid balance. Reese's pommel horse routine lasts about 44 seconds and includes around 37 circles, give or take. It's a very long routine. Max Whitlock's routine swings generally slower and lasts about 48 seconds, but is made up of 35 circles, give or take. The longest routine I've seen is 1992 Olympic champion on pommel horse Pai Gil-soo, and his routine went on for 48 seconds just like Max's routine, but he had 37 circles as he swung faster also. I didn't count handstand skills or scissor work. This is a new skill for Reese and raises his difficulty. A bezego or a full back Stockley on one pommel, but he doesn't look very comfortable on this skill yet, so I'm curious if he's going to put it in for the Olympics. Many athletes do the same trending skills, so it matters greatly who does them better as to set themselves apart from each other. Koi Young and Max Whitlock both show really consistent control in their handstand work, so who does it better? They both look exceptional to me. Max has a very solid, clean, and controlled swing that allows him to do incredibly difficult skills. His lack of toe point does stand out to me and change his overall look of his pommel horse work. Again, Max does so much one pommel work so comfortably and controlled, he never appears to struggle with his balance. Now with Reese. Of course, anything can happen in competition, but already to have so many recent successes on pommel horse gives Reese a lot of momentum, not only in his confidence, but also in how the judges in gymnastics world perceive him, and this does have an invisible positive value for him. A tattoo of the Olympic ring signifies his passion, pride, and commitment to his gymnastics. His Irish green wrist supports show his patriotism for his country. These athletes are fully invested in doing everything and giving everything they can to finish as high as possible in the Olympic Games. Let's get started with the analysis. First, look how low he squats for this very strong and high jump into his mount. This creates a lot of power to make the hop and turn all the way to the other side of the pommel horse in this hop full twisting scissor or maculak. Now watch this little hand touch on the pommel. This is normal for this skill, and I believe it helps him square up his body and to be more consistent with this skill. Very nice. He moves into two pommel loops into a difficult double Russian or walk around on one pommel, done very solid and with very clean form. Watch how fast his hands move and the accuracy of each hand placement to sustain solid support as he spins on the one pommel. It looks very comfortable for him. He's capable of doing a much more difficult 1080 walk around on one pommel, but I'm not sure if he's going to use it in the finals. Here's a side-by-side with two-time Olympic pommel horse champion Max Whitlock. He also does a 1080 Russian most of the time, and he may add it in his routine in the finals. Now Steven moves into a very difficult full kier or a son. That's a long time to balance on one hand. The full kier or son is done with only one hand placement in one circle. He has very extended body position here. His right hand has to grab the pommel in reverse grip to prepare for the full turn on the one pommel. It's very odd to grab the pommel in this way. As the shoulders start to lean over and outside the pommel, his body turns and the arms and legs counterbalance with each other. He leads with his toes throughout most of this skill. He's very locked in with his arm locked close to his side, very clean and smooth. He is looking for that sweet spot of balance between leaning too far and not leaning enough. This is a full back Stockley or a bazoogo done very clean. He gets his hand on the pommel very fast, so he must have very flexible wrists. He has a solid lean with his arm pushing down and locked close to his body. Now look at his arm. It's like a bull rider that moves his free hand around to help him maintain balance on the bull. He raises or lowers his hands to make micro adjustments in his balance as he turns on the pommel. Then he finishes this skill just as he would if he was doing a more normal basic Stockley. Really great stuff. Now he moves into some one pommel work. This is 2 pommel circles into 2 back Stockleys or back Moores. In this skill he has 8 hand placements on one pommel, keeping very nice extension and form throughout and staying pretty high above the pommel. Very nice. Looking closer, he has good extension and pushes down on the pommel very well. Very extended with nice toe point here. He's very accurate with his hand placements to maintain good push on the pommel to complete this very nice combination. Here's a side-by-side with Olympic pommel horse champion Max Whitlock, who he'll see in the finals, doing a woo, or a full travel across the horse while doing multiple Russian walk-around swings. They are both uniquely clean and smooth in this woo travel. He has nice body extension, and watch as Steven keeps his chest facing the pommel horse the entire time throughout this skill. Beautiful form, swinging very high above the horse. Now he travels long ways across the horse only on the leather and not touching the pommels at all. He pushes down with very good accuracy between the pommels here and reaches to the end of the horse, maintaining very nice body position. Here's a side-by-side with world champion Rhys McClinigan from Ireland doing a back salvato across the horse. In this travel backwards, they alternate each hand placement from leather, pommel, leather. They look very similar here. Pommel, nice extension from both, back to the leather into loops on the end. Steven ends with 2 pommel loops into a back Stockley handstand with a half pirouette. Really clean and solid and having great endurance to have no struggle in his dismount. Let's get started. Lou starts with a back roll to a Maltese. This has an F rating. Here it looks like a perfectly balanced pivot into the Maltese as he circles around. This was done earlier in his career. Later in his career he showed more strength by lifting his chest and body up a little bit earlier before his body was completely turned over into the Maltese. Here's a slower look to see how he pulls his entire body up before completely turning over. His shoulders and head are completely even with the rings. This is a perfect position and it's as if he's laying on the ground. Zanetti does a very well balanced pivot into his Maltese as well, but his technique is a bit different. He locks his large triceps on his lat muscle to cause a strong resistance which helps him to hold the Maltese. When you have tree trunk arms like this, you can do it this way. Very much like Lou, Zanetti's shoulders and head are perfectly even with the rings. Lou always keeps his head down on his Malteses, but Zanetti will sometimes raise his head. This is most likely a personal style choice. Zanetti actually created the back lever pull up into a Maltese. It's called a Zanetti. Lou does a butterfly to a planche where he pulls his entire body up into the rings with straight arms into the planche position. This is very difficult and still not that common in the gymnastics world. Here's an honorable mention. Alexander Belendin, he's the creator of this skill. If you notice when he performs this skill, he pulls his entire body up more to the Maltese position and then he presses to the planche position. Lou pulls his body up to an almost full support before he leans into the planche. There's no difference in value, but a slight difference in technique. Zanetti pulls himself into his planche by doing a straight body, straight arm, back roll. Both skills have the same value of an E. Look how fast and easy he does this. They also have a slight difference in their planches. Lou's arms are locked out straight. Zanetti's arms are straight, but they're so big it's hard to tell. Let's take a look at some of their swinging elements. Lou does a pike Yamawaki into a whippet cross. Zanetti does a tuck Yamawaki into a pike Yamawaki right to a back uprise Maltese. Now the athletes often change their routines. Sometimes Zanetti also does a whippet into the cross so we can compare here. The goal in this skill is to keep your shoulders as even with the rings as possible during the entire skill. This is as high as Zanetti's shoulders go throughout this entire skill. It's exceptional. When we watch Lou, this is how high his shoulders go. As he circles around, we can see his shoulders don't really go above the rings as well, and I would say it's slightly better than Zanetti. Here we see Zanetti's back lever bounce into a cross. His cross is actually slightly lower than Lou. A low cross can be a sign of weakness to imply you could not pull up far enough to reach the level cross position. I don't think this is the case for Zanetti, as I've seen him perform many times and sometimes he chooses to go either level or slightly low in his cross position. Now I've heard mixed reactions to Lou's head circling during his cross. I view it as a stylistic choice to relay to the judges and everybody watching that it's not hard for him, and he could do this while he's chewing gum. Again, at the top of the field in gymnastics, especially rings, the athletes are always looking for ways to separate themselves from each other. The small stylistic flair they add to each of their individual skills helps them do this. Zanetti also has his flair, and he sometimes does it with lifting the fingers off the ring during a cross. This shows his own style, but it also shows that he has no false grip. Now the ring should always stay in your hand or palm. A false grip is when you put your wrist on the ring to to make the length of your arms slightly shorter, and this makes skills slightly easier. A false grip is also a deduction from the judges. Let's take a look at Lou's able to hold the inverted cross considerably higher than level because it was considered so difficult. These days, with the athletes being so strong, they're much more strict to see the inverted cross held much closer to level, if not completely level. In other competitions, Lou shows that he's very capable to hold the inverted cross completely level. It's one of the best I've seen. Here are a couple honorable mentions of great inverted crosses. The first one is Jordan Jopchev. He's another ring legend that gets his inverted cross pretty much level. Another prodigy and monstrously strong ringman is Chris Lamort. He's perfectly level and slightly below level at some times, and seemingly has no problem holding this inverted cross. Just beautiful to watch. As far as the dismounts, well, the top ringmen are so strong these days and solid in their routines, there's much more emphasis on sticking the landing because a step or a hop in the dismount might be the only apparent deduction that stands out compared to the rest of the routine. If two athletes do great routines with incredible strength and stability, it's often decided by who lands their dismount better. Lou does a double twisting double back off the rings. I would say he sticks it more than half the time. Zanetti does a full twisting double layout off the rings. I would say he also sticks his dismount a little more than half the time. In my opinion, I believe Lou is the best ringman in the world at this time. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. See you next time, and rock on.